Hello, hello. I think that means we're live. Hi, Sara. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Hi,
So
Sara.
we're joined. Thank you. So this is our weekly LinkedIn Live. I'm joined by Sara Atkinson from Ciena. She's the EMEA Director of Field Channel Marketing. Hopefully, I've got that right. So just introduce yourself to us, then, Sara. What do you do? What's your expertise? What's your background?
Thanks, Sarah. And hi, everybody. It's great to be here today. So as Sarah said, I'm the EMEA Field and Channel Marketing Director at Ciena. I've been at Ciena for just over 8 years now. And I lead a team of very talented marketing managers who have responsibility across the whole EMEA region. In terms of really where our focus lies, we focus a lot on account-based marketing. We've got some very significant accounts across the region that we service. Obviously, channel marketing is an absolutely critical part of what we do as well. So that in that we partner up with some of our key customers and develop joint go-to-market plans and campaigns with them. So yeah, it's fun, it's busy. Prior to Ciena, I spent 12 years at Cisco, so I've always worked on in the tech industry.
Oh, interesting. Thank you for that. As we're going along, if you have any questions for Sara, do add them in the chat. I think Ryan's manning that, but I will keep an eye out and look out for your questions. So do pop them in there. So today's session is all about leaders and why leaders on social is good for business. So Sara is running some interesting programs at Ciena, which we're partnering with them on. So I've got a few questions to ask Sara about that and other things in the industry as well. She's got so much experience to draw upon. So firstly, I think it's a good place to start is, can you really explain the importance of leaders being more active on social media, particularly for you at Ciena and maybe generally as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So first of all, upfront, I think it is really critical that that our leaders are they're digitally savvy and that they are out there. And there's a number of reasons for that. I think, firstly, obviously we're all working in this not so new hybrid environment. So perhaps leaders that were more visible in the office are seen less by employees who might be working at home 80% or even 100% of their time. So obviously using LinkedIn is a great way for those leaders to continue to communicate with employees, obviously not just employees, but get their thoughts out there. And I think certainly if we're thinking about what the employee expects, they love it. They love to see their leadership team, perhaps sharing their values both inside and outside work, the business priorities, perspectives on the industry. So I think from a communication perspective, it's really critical. And we all know that there is a war for talent out there.
Yep.
So our leaders being on LinkedIn means that again, they're sharing their personal values. We really try and make sure that our leaders are as authentic as possible when they're on LinkedIn. I think it gives potential candidates a fantastic insight into a business when they see the leadership team being open, transparent, human on LinkedIn. And then, I guess the final reason is that we know that it gives our leadership team a platform, and they get a great response. So it's something that very quickly proves its value to these leaders who super busy on the road, etc. But they get a great response both from employees, customers, partners. So it's definitely worth the investment.
Yeah, for definite. So what's your approach then with working with leaders, sort of, and helping them become more digitally savvy or active?
So we've done a number of things at Ciena, and I'll talk more broadly about what we've done across the entire employee base to really make. So I think a big thing about using social, and obviously we're talking specifically about LinkedIn today, is is confidence. So our social media lead at Ciena, fantastic guy called Bo Gowan, he has rolled out Everyone Social. So that's our enterprise-wide platform that anybody at Ciena can access. And obviously the leaders can also use that, and they do. We've also, and again, this is more broadly across our employee base, we've also, we have some really comprehensive sales enablement. So anybody who joins Ciena can go in and take training on how to use LinkedIn effectively. And then what we did with the leadership team is we do that on a more bespoke basis. So we've actually worked with you guys at Tribal to do one-to-one training and guidance. Training is kind of mentoring, coaching around LinkedIn. So that's really helping the leaders understand the value, which we've touched on already, make sure that their LinkedIn profiles reflect who they are as business people and as humans. So really, making sure that they are, they've got the right photo on LinkedIn. We all know how important that is. So certainly that's one of the things that we've done. And obviously we've worked more extensively with the team at Tribal, with the leadership team to provide a lot more guidance and a lot more support when it comes to creating and posting on LinkedIn. And I think that's really, we've only done that with a small cohort of our leadership team across EMEA and Asia Pacific, but I think that's what's really made the difference for us, is engaging with you all, because it's about confidence and it's about time. But what's been really critical is that these leaders that we're working with, they're bought in to the process. We're not saying, oh, don't you worry about LinkedIn, we'll do it. It's very much been a partnership between marketing, between you guys at Tribal and our leadership team. And so really they're the three ways that we've given our leaders a lot more confidence when it comes to using the platform.
Yeah, and actually being part of that process, sort of onboarding some of your leaders myself, it was really, really good to see that they were bought into it. They knew why they were doing it. They had good objectives of what they were doing, and they understood it. And it wasn't about having to persuade them to do it. They'd already bought into it. So what did you do in that sort of that part of it on your side to sort of get that buy-in, would you say?
Well, first of all, so we started this project by working with Jamie Jeffries, and Jamie is the general manager for the entire what we call the international region, which is EMEA and Asia Pacific. So we started working with Jamie I think it was about 12 months ago now, i.e. working with Tribal and Jamie. Because before we started working with you, I used to support Jamie with his LinkedIn. And what we found is I'm not a copywriter and I'm not a LinkedIn expert. So it was kind of best effort between us, but we wouldn't be posting as regularly as we should have been. And it was quite difficult. And so when Tribal started working with Jamie and again, providing the support that he needed, what we found is that other people suddenly were sitting up and taking a bit of notice. Suddenly Jamie had a fantastic LinkedIn profile. He was posting really regularly, getting great engagement. And of course, starting at the top, the fact that he was bought into it, he really believed in it, that message then trickled down into his leadership team. And that's how we've been able to extend the program.
Yeah, and actually, just you saying that, I remember a few of them saying, "Well, I've seen what Jamie's doing, and I want to do that." So it is that sort of seeing someone doing it and thinking, well, why am I not doing it? Or I want a piece of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we've sort of talked really about sort of the reasons then. So. We've sort of talked, you mentioned a bit about sort of employee engagement and sort of the war for talent, as it's been been coined in recent months. So we're seeing, I think this is 50, I've got a stat here, 52% of Gen Z and millennials are predicted to change jobs last year. Do you think that maybe was a factor in why you started this for Ciena and your leaders there?
I think it's definitely a factor. And in fact, I remember in those early discussions with Jamie, when we were talking about his own personal drivers and his priorities, it has always been about attracting and retaining talent, and particularly early in career talent. So yes, it's definitely a factor. And I do think it's a really effective way of doing that. A number of reasons. Obviously, we're promoting our brand, which is reaching a much broader audience through through increased posting, and also just more generally through increased employee advocacy. And we've touched on this already as well, I think that by having our leaders post more regularly on LinkedIn, they can truly demonstrate the kind of a unique culture. I think Ciena's got a very special and unique culture, and it's all about the people, and I truly believe that our leaders, that this is very true to their own values, and so they're posting about this, they're being very authentic. And so when it comes to attracting talent, what better way than seeing the people that ultimately you're going to be working for being their true selves and sharing their values. So yes, I think it's really important.
Yeah, and it's not just about the talent attraction, it's that engagement as well, isn't it? So the people that are already working for Ciena, it's who people are looking to, isn't it? So which takes me on to, so would you say the general employee population, what's their response been to their sort of increased activity on LinkedIn?
It's been really positive, and we have had a lot of comments, a lot of people asking, well, what's going on? Suddenly these leaders are really visible. So I think it's been really positive, and you can really see from the kind of engagement that the posts get, that of course we're getting external engagement from our customer base and our partners as well. But a lot of the engagement is from our employees, who are delighted to see their leaders sharing their thoughts on LinkedIn. So the engagement has been excellent. So I think it's been a really, really positive thing. And and as I said earlier, the fact that these leaders are perhaps not walking the office floor in the same way that they used to. It's really important that they're still able to communicate, but just doing it in a digital way.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, how's it on sort of in your, because obviously you're marketing, so how does that feed into your campaigns and things like that? So do you do anything on that?
So I wouldn't say it feeds directly into our campaigns. So we use LinkedIn a lot. Paid ads, etc., on LinkedIn, and whenever we activate a campaign, the ads for it are always available on everyone's social. And so we're really encouraging the entire population at Ciena to be sharing ads and sharing content. And obviously this extends also into those leaders who of course, we're using the posts that you create, but they also are using everyone's socials. So because they've built a stronger network, a broader network in the time that we've been working with Tribal, they're reaching a broader audience, and obviously generally a more senior audience. So some of our key stakeholders will be seeing those ads and that content. So no, I think it's a very good complement to what we're doing.
Because they're going to get, as part of that program, they're going to build their network, they're going to get, like you say, more visibility. Exactly. So if they're sharing content mixed in, so it's not just always Ciena content,
exactly,
it keeps people interested, doesn't it? So when they post something that's more Ciena focused, maybe it gets seen more.
Exactly. And we do try really hard generally at Ciena to make sure that nobody is just posting Ciena content. I mean,
Yeah.
who wants to see a series of in their LinkedIn feed? So we do try and encourage everybody to post a mixture of perhaps more personal content that they might write themselves, and obviously industry content, and then the Ciena specific material. And I think our leadership team are doing the same, and it's working well.
Yeah, sounds good. Actually, yeah, I was going to say it's working well. Have you got any good examples of sort of what's worked well and the approach to that?
Yeah, no, sure. And I'm going to look down at my. I have got some but just I guess just to give a little bit more detail on how we've been working with tribal. So at the moment we have 5 of our leaders engaged in the program. So we've got Jamie, who I've already talked about, our general manager, and then 4 people within his leadership organization. And these 4 leaders are global. We've got somebody in Australia, we've got somebody in Paris, Austria, and India. So spread around the world. And the approach that we took, obviously in partnership with you, was to really sit down with each of those leaders and spend a good amount of time with them, really understanding what their priorities are in terms of what they want to be posting about. And I think you'll agree, Sarah, for all of them, this is where the authenticity comes, because we're not dictating what they post about. They give us very clear themes that they're passionate about. So I think that's really the starting point to make sure that any engagement with tribal is successful, because you're not writing posts that they would never share. Everything
exactly.
that you do is completely aligned to their personal values. And so if we're thinking about with Jamie, he is on the road all the time, traveling across the world. And so when we alluded to my helping him earlier, what we found when he was traveling, we couldn't post anything. So again, an element of the success is that by using tribal, he's able to post very consistently. So he's been doing this now for 12 months. The way that it works is that tribal will work with Jamie, write the posts. He then has the opportunity to edit, and he approves everything before it's pushed live. And I think so. First of all, the visibility certainly across Ciena is huge in terms of what he's been able to achieve just in that short period of time. And his SSI score has increased. His network has increased. So it's been really successful. But I did want to share just another example of someone that you started working with quite recently, and that's Virginie, who is the general manager for EMEA. Virginie is based in Paris, and again, she's a real people person. She really believes in using LinkedIn, but again, it was just really hard. Traveling, extremely busy agenda, and so I think she's actually only done 2 posts so far. Her first post was really about growing early in career staff. There was a wonderful photograph on it of Virginie, again with one of our more recent grads. And so after just about a month, her SSI score has increased by 16%, and her followers and connections are up by just under 10%. So that's amazing in a month. But I think what's more interesting is that particular post, so there were over 10,000 impressions of it, 284 likes, and brilliantly 34 comments. So really fantastic engagement. And I think one critical element of ensuring that any of these programs is successful is that actually, whilst the posting and the copywriting, etc., is done by you, our leaders are the ones interacting with posts. So they are on LinkedIn, they are reading what's being said, and they're responding to it. So it is still very authentic.
Yeah, and you know, using that post as an example, Virginie was very involved in that, and actually it was something that we was a bit of a new territory for us in terms of posting, because if anyone looks at Jamie's profile, you'll see a lot of that is third-party content. But Virginie, it was very clear when we were sort of talking to her and meeting with her that she wanted to, she is, like you say, a people person, and she's really likes that relationship building. So we did an intro post for her, which is the one with the photo. And yeah, I mean, we were blown away by the sort of stats that she got from that, and it's really good, you know, working with the leaders for us on our side, that if they're engaged with that process. So I know that Lindsay, I'll give Lindsay a shout out, who's working with Virginie on our side at Tribal. You know, they're actually WhatsApping every now and then, because Virginie's on the road, and you know, she's not always at her desk, and you know, she comes up with ideas and she sends them over to us, and it gives us much more to work with, rather than sort of just some keywords or some content ideas and not really knowing whether that's the right thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so it really is a partnership. No, it's great. And I know, I think one really positive thing from seeing the high engagement that these posts get, and all the comments, it's really encouraging for the leaders. You know, they see, again, it's really worth the investment of their time to continue doing this, because you know, having that external voice is really important to them. It is just the practical side of, when am I going to do this? They're not copywriters. It's not everybody is super confident about the kind of logistics of posting on LinkedIn. So just to have those elements taken away, I think it just makes such a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of sort of, I mean, we're obviously really lucky with who we're working with at the moment with you guys, but I'm interested to understand if you've ever had any more apprehensive leaders, you know, and maybe sort of what we can do to encourage those, and sort of understanding the benefits of being on social.
Yeah, we do have lots of people who are less confident on LinkedIn. So we do a few things. So first of all, I think the training is really important. So again, we've got plenty of online training at Ciena, which is really comprehensive. But for those who are in more senior positions, that's when I would reach out to Tribal and say, listen, somebody new has joined. They may have used LinkedIn in a previous life, but it's kind of dropped off and they're out of the habit. And I do find that an hour with one of your trainers is a really great way to get them kickstarted again. Just reminding them of the benefits that it brings, helping them just refresh their LinkedIn profile. So I think that's a really good place to start. And we also we don't just do the one-to-one sessions. Sometimes we do refreshers for entire teams on this, because I find that if you're not using LinkedIn on a regular basis, it is pretty easy to get out of the habit and lose your confidence. So to me, that mentoring, coaching side of things is really important. And then for the more apprehensive people as well, having an enterprise-wide platform, so using everyone's social, is critical. And I think the reason for that is that they know that when they're posting something from everyone's social, it's Ciena approved, it has been curated by an expert team, and they're not going to get into any trouble for posting it. And again, I think that's pretty important. And then finally, and we've touched on this a little bit already, but having the senior leadership team posting on LinkedIn, it does a couple of things. It creates a little bit of healthy competition internally, and it gives me confidence that with Jamie is posting, then I should be following suit and I should be posting. This is a way for me to enhance my personal brand. It's an opportunity for me to share my what's happening at Ciena and in the industry with all my customer contacts. So I think it's just the more people that post, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, exactly. and bringing them in, finding people that maybe you wouldn't ordinarily see on, you know, that you wouldn't think within an organization that they wouldn't be visible, but by being active on social, it gives them that visibility.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes that's in surprising places, we find.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think that there's, and you might find this as well, that there's a bit of an assumption that LinkedIn is just for sales, it's just for marketing. But actually, what we really encourage is all the different functions to be posting on LinkedIn, whether that's our sales engineering teams or our services organization or people and culture, because they have a different network.
They do.
But they have a network who is still, that, you know, they may still be a key stakeholder for making decisions about Ciena. So it's definitely, I think, the broader and the more functions that use LinkedIn, again, that can only have a positive impact.
Yeah, for definite. So we've talked a bit about sort of, you know, a bit about the measurement, and I don't know if Ryan wants to put in the SSI score link. If anyone doesn't know what the SSI score is, it's a social selling index that everyone on LinkedIn can have. So if you're new to our Tribal Impact LinkedIn Lives, we've probably talked about it in others, but if you're new, you might not have heard about it before. But it is a sort of metric that's available. You can, if Ryan pops the link in, you can click on it and find out what your score is. We often ask people if you want to pop it in the chat. We'll have a look and see how people are. But generally, it's a score between 1 and 100. And sort of, most people who aren't regularly active sort of sit between 20 and 40. And then once people get more and more active, we see sort of a good level of SSIs around 70. 65 to 70 is what we're trying to aim for. To be sort of get that visibility, have that network size. And
have you ever seen anyone with an SSI higher than 70?
Yes, we've had people in the I don't know about people that we've worked with in terms of people, you know, leaders, for example. We've definitely had people on other programs where they've got into the 80s, and I know Sara Goodall did get into the 90s once, but not so easy these days. And I don't think anyone has ever got to 100.
No, that's the problem with the SSI. It changes all the time, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, the algorithm changes all the time. But yeah, so we're talking about measurement. How are you measuring the success of the program?
So we receive regular reports from Tribal, and in those reports, lists out obviously the most recent posts, and all the stats around that, the engagement, the impressions, the comments, etc. And we do get regular updates on the SSI and how that's changed. Has it gone up or down? And I think just getting those regular reports it keeps us. It's a great way of looking at, okay, as we said, is this bringing value? Yes or no? Well, I think so far our response has been 100% absolutely yes. Also helps us look at which posts resonate with the audience, which ones are less successful. And again, that kind of guides how we plan the future posts. So that's really good. And then, of course, there's more anecdotal feedback that we get both from the leaders themselves and more broadly at Ciena. So
yeah, that's great, thank you. I think we did have one question, so you might not know the answer to this, but how did you choose everyone's social at Ciena over other platforms that are out there and available?
So Diane, I'm afraid I didn't choose everyone's social. That it was chosen by our social media team, not me. So I'm afraid I can't answer that question. It is awesome. It's news. I like that. So
yeah, and I think we spoke to Bo, who sort of works on it internally, and he said that you'd actually promoted our LinkedIn Live through everyone's social, which is really exciting to hear. Forgot to tell Ryan that one. Is there anything else with, in terms of leadership and active leadership? Is there anything else that you'd add as sort of your top tips, maybe?
In terms of kind of being digitally savvy and using.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my top tips would be get trained up. If you're not confident, then put your hand up and ask for help, because I know at Ciena, each of my marketing managers also helps their sales counterparts get comfortable with using LinkedIn. So I think there's various levels. You can start just by engaging with your team and maybe asking someone who's a bit more confident for some basic tips, right up to the one-to-one training that we've talked about. I will, also get guidance from the social media team. Perhaps if you don't have an enterprise platform, then you should be going to the social media experts in your company and asking them about the do's and the don'ts, because it is important that we all comply to what our company wants us to be posting on LinkedIn. Yes, there is a you do need to be quite careful, obviously. But there's always people who can guide and provide that advice, I think. And then, I would say give it a go. I think what I'm always surprised about is how positive the environment is within LinkedIn, and how positively posts are received. I know that when I post and perhaps post something a bit more personal, it's always really heartening to see people that can pop out of the woodwork that you haven't spoken to for a long time commenting on posts. So people are using it all the time. And then finally, use it regularly. So get into that routine. I know you call it the coffee cup routine, but I think that is really important to once you start to post, be brave, start your posts and do it regularly, and just see over time the impact that has.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good tips. Thank you for doing that on the spot there, Sara. But yeah, what you're saying about LinkedIn, and it is a friendly place. I think people are often surprised that people aren't out there to try and shout you down or tear you down. It is a very friendly community, and I think because it's that more business focused social media platform, if you like. I think it is much more friendly, maybe than something like Twitter or Facebook.
Much more. I wouldn't dare post on Twitter.
Particularly in these times.
Exactly.
But yeah, and that's it. We are seeing, people, start with LinkedIn and then maybe move on to something else as well, because it's not, it's make a start. And like you say, like you said, it's just getting out there and doing it and having a regular routine.
And I think not overthinking it.
I know that's so easy.
But don't overthink it, because you'll end up never posting.
No, the amount of posts I've talked myself out of posting, because you just think, oh no.
Yes, isn't it? Self-doubt's not a good thing. So I just think
sometimes
just go on and do it.
Yeah, someone else is doing it for you. That you haven't got to get out. You got to get out of yourself a bit in a way, haven't you?
yeah, exactly. And of course, not everybody wants to get out of themselves. They consider LinkedIn's work, and so if that's the case, post about work. Post about what's happening in the company, new product releases, a great customer meeting that you've come out of. Stay within your comfort zone, but still post.
Yeah, and that's it. It doesn't have to be like personal, and some people are comfortable with that, and you get the few people saying it's LinkedIn, Facebook now, don't you? But I think it's a good mix. Well, thank you very much for that, Sara. It was a really good chat. I think got someone, Nellie's just said brilliant tips. Thank you, which is really nice. Thank you, Nellie. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. If there's no other audience questions, then we can wrap that up there. We do have, we are back next week, next Wednesday. Justina is going to be interviewing Ignacio from Generali, and hopefully I've said both of those things right. But if you join next week, you'll know how to say them. But thank you ever so much for joining us. If you've got no more questions, then see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks ever so much for joining us, Sara. It was really good. Great tips.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.